Prisons are meant to contain the worst individuals society has to offer. But behind those locked doors, there are inmates who stand apart even among criminals, people so dangerous that their violence did not stop after sentencing. Some of them continued killing, manipulating, and terrorizing others inside prison walls. In this video, we examine 10 of the most terrifying prisoners ever known, men whose presence turned prisons into living nightmares. Number 10. Billy Joe Johnson. Billy Joe Johnson was deeply involved in white supremacist prison gangs, living a life driven by hatred, loyalty to violent ideology, and brutal revenge. He was sentenced to life in prison after murdering his childhood friend, Scott Miller, in retaliation for a televised expose that embarrassed his gang. But prison did not slow him down. It only gave him new targets. Behind bars, Johnson admitted to killing 2 fellow inmates over trivial disputes. He also confessed to murdering a convicted child offender, showing no hesitation or remorse. His reputation spread fast, and guards soon recognized him as one of the most dangerous men in the facility. Even after being resentenced to death during a retrial, Johnson displayed complete emotional detachment, never expressing regret for any of his actions. Number 9. Alexander Salonic. Alexander Salonic was once considered one of the deadliest contract killers to ever operate in Russia. Originally trained during the Cold War, he was allegedly prepared to target high-ranking NATO officials. When the Soviet system collapsed, Salonic redirected his lethal skills to the Russian mafia, becoming a highly sought-after assassin. Even after being imprisoned for multiple contract killings, Salonic reportedly continued his work behind bars, eliminating other inmates on mafia orders. His influence extended beyond prison walls. After a violent escape supported by organized crime connections, he fled to Greece hoping to disappear. But his past caught up with him. In a grim twist of fate, Salonic was assassinated along with his girlfriend, killed by the same criminal world that once depended on him. Number 8. Randy Kraft. Randy Kraft appeared ordinary on the surface. Intelligent, articulate, and outwardly calm, he hid a deeply disturbing side that shocked the entire world. Convicted of multiple murders in California, Kraft meticulously documented his crimes, keeping cryptic records that revealed the scope of his brutality. Imprisonment did nothing to extinguish his dark tendencies. Reports from inside prisons suggested suspicious deaths involving inmates who crossed his path. Using manipulation and exploitation of the prison system, Kraft allegedly continued orchestrating harm from within. His ability to maintain control and instill fear solidified his reputation as one of the most chilling prisoners in American history. Number 7. Arthur Shakross. Arthur Shakross grew up in modest surroundings, but his life spiraled into unimaginable violence. Convicted of 14 calculated murders, he became a symbol of terror whose name alone struck fear into communities. His cold stare and controlled demeanor barely concealed the cruelty beneath the surface. Even behind bars, Shakross remained dangerous. Allegations surfaced that he murdered another inmate while incarcerated, raising disturbing questions about how someone already serving time for extreme violence could continue killing. His manipulative personality and lack of empathy made him a constant threat, proving that prison walls alone could not neutralize him. Number 6. Alexander Petushkin. Alexander Petushkin, widely known as the chessboard killer, is one of Russia's most infamous criminals. He claimed responsibility for more than 60 killings, obsessively marking each one on a chessboard, a ritual that defined his terrifying legacy. Deemed far too dangerous for the general population, Petushkin spends his life in isolation. Very little information escapes about his daily existence, but unconfirmed reports suggest continued violent behavior even while imprisoned. His presence alone is considered a threat, making him one of the most feared inmates in Russia's penal system. Number 5. Christopher Scarver. Christopher Scarver is widely known as the inmate who ended the life of notorious serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. Long before that moment, Scarver was already serving a life sentence for killing a former employer and had built a fearsome reputation inside Wisconsin's Columbia Correctional Institution. When Dahmer, infamous for his crimes, many of which targeted African-American victims, became Scarver's fellow inmate, tensions quietly grew. Scarver later stated that learning the full extent of Dahmer's actions deeply disturbed him. Inside a prison gym, Scarver confronted Dahmer and carried out a violent attack that shocked the entire world. Following the incident, Scarver was placed in long-term solitary confinement due to the severity of the act. His name became permanently linked to one of the most infamous moments in prison history, cementing his reputation as one of the most feared inmates in the system. Number 4. Robert Modsley. British inmate Robert Modsley, often referred to as Hannibal the Cannibal, has one of the darkest prison histories ever recorded. His early life was marked by severe trauma, including extreme abuse, which many believe played a role in his descent into violence. In 1974, Modsley committed his first known killing. Even imprisonment failed to suppress his violent impulses. While incarcerated, he went on to kill 2 fellow inmates, acts that shocked prison officials and demonstrated his uncontrollable behavior. Due to the extreme danger he posed, authorities constructed a specially designed, isolated cell within Wakefield Prison, often referred to as a prison within a prison. Modsley has spent decades in near-total isolation, considered too dangerous to interact with any other human being. Number 3. Heimeosa. Heimeosa had already been convicted of murder before becoming one of California's most disturbing prison cases. Known for extreme violence and instability, he was once discovered armed inside a detention facility, raising serious concerns about inmate oversight. Despite this, Osuna was housed with another inmate at Corcoran State Prison. The outcome was catastrophic. His cellmate, Luis Romero, was killed in an incident so disturbing the details remain restricted from public platforms. The case sparked widespread scrutiny of prison safety protocols and mental health evaluations. As of recent court proceedings, Osuna's legal team has challenged his mental competence, delaying trial and reigniting debate about how violent inmates are managed within the prison system. Number 2. Thomas Silverstein. Thomas Silverstein was one of the most violent inmates ever held in the U.S. prison system. He was originally imprisoned in the 1970s for armed robberies. His behavior escalated rapidly behind bars. Silverstein murdered fellow inmates linked to rival prison gangs and later orchestrated the killing of correctional officer Merle Klutz in 1983. That act crossed a line few inmates ever reach. As punishment, Silverstein was sentenced to permanent solitary confinement. He spent over 36 years alone in a specially constructed cell under constant lighting and extreme isolation. Human rights groups criticized the conditions as psychological torture. His confinement directly influenced the design of a DX Florence, America's most secure supermax prison. Number 1. Pedro Rodriguez Filho. Pedro Rodriguez Filho, also known as Pedrino Matador, is one of the most prolific killers in modern history. He claimed responsibility for more than 100 killings, including dozens committed while incarcerated. Violence entered his life early. As a teenager, he killed for the first time, and his brutality intensified after his fiancée was murdered by a criminal gang. In retaliation, Filho carried out a violent revenge attack that left multiple people dead. Perhaps his most chilling act occurred in prison, when he encountered his own father, imprisoned for murdering Filho's mother. Filho stabbed him repeatedly, declaring it an act of justice. Despite his history, Brazilian law limited maximum prison sentences, leading to his release in 2007. Today, Filho maintains an online presence where he attempts to reframe his past, a reality that continues to shock audiences worldwide. Closing, these 10 inmates remind us that for some individuals, prison is not an end, but merely another stage for violence. Their stories reveal uncomfortable truths about human nature, punishment, and the limits of incarceration itself. Thank you for staying with us through this disturbing journey. If you want to explore more stories like these, check out the next videos on your screen.